Tuesday, September 27th, 2022, regular governing board meeting for Deer Valley Unified School District. Will call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. Please let the roll call show that all board members are present. If you are able, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Do you want to do the roll call? I would make I would ask that the governing board adopt the agenda with the exception of moving district report item 3B directly following the adoption of the agenda.
Or second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Motion passes unanimously. So we will begin this evening's district reports with the DVUSD Athletics Board Report. Dr. Zurbach.
Thank you, and good evening, President O'Brien, members of the board, Dr. Finch. This evening, we are pleased to present to you our DVUSD Athletics Board Report. This evening, we have two students, a coach, and Mr. Warner here with us to present and speak about a few important topics related to athletics. And with that, I will give it to Mr. Warner.
Your mic's not on. It's good
How
now.
about now?
Yes, just move it
Excellent.
very close to you.
Good. Thank you, President O'Brien, members of the board, Dr. Finch, for having us come down here today and talk to you a little bit about what's going on last year in athletics and what's going on this year as well. We have three folks from our athletic family here with us tonight. First up, you'll hear from Michaela Lee. She is a shot putter and basketball player at Deer Valley High School. Then you'll hear from Espen Polanski. He's our senior point guard at the Boulder Creek High School. And finally, Frank Lout here is our head varsity football coach from Goldwater High School, the 3-1 Bulldog High School football team. So, without further ado, I think we'll turn this over to Michaela to get us started. We can move to the next slide. And so we may know that this is the 50th anniversary of Title IX. Many of our opportunities for our female athletes in our district over the course of several years have been because of our attention to this particular law. So Michaela is here to talk to you a little bit about what her experience has been as a female athlete in our district.
Okay. Hi, my name is Michaela. I'm a senior at Deer Valley, and like you said, I play basketball and do track. And some experiences as a female athlete in high school. Athletics just teaches us about responsibility and accountability. I don't know how it is for boys, obviously, but with girls, it's about more team and becoming more defined young women. And we really, with accountability, we are held accountable with each other and with our coaches. And it teaches us responsibility for our grades and showing up on time. It teaches us how to just become good people of the society as people and as athletes.
Thank you, Michaela. You may know that we have 23 teams in our district. 12 of those are female teams. And we've added girls wrestling most recently is our most recent girls team that we've added. For counting football typically as a boys sport. And so there are 11 boys teams and 12 girls teams. Moving on to the boys, if we can move to the next slide, you'll see that we have Espen Polanski here with us today from Boulder Creek, and he's here to talk a little bit about what it might be the opportunities he's having as an athlete and playing at the next level.
Hi, I'm Espen. I go to Boulder Creek. I'm a senior, and then
You're going to have to move it a little bit closer to you and speak loud. Thank
is that
you.
good? All right. I go to Boulder Creek. I'm a senior. I've played basketball all 4 years, And with all 4 years I've played, I've not only gotten better and like gained confidence in myself, I've also built so many relationships through teammates, coaches, and everything. And that just helps me to go to the next level because I know how to be a teammate, which ultimately helps you get to the next level. And then building relationships with everyone to make sure you get to know the coaches everywhere, so you get to be looked at by everywhere most of all. And yeah, just building relationships and being responsible.
And you may recall that Espen was part of that Final Four run last year for the Boulder Creek boys basketball team in 6A. Very, very impressive run for the boys, and we're looking for more excitement this year. If we move to the next slide, as I mentioned, Coach Frank Lout is our head varsity football coach at Goldwater High School, and he wanted to talk to you a little bit about what we've been spending some of that bond money on.
Okay. President O'Brien, board members, Dr. Finch, Mr. Warner, thanks for having me. It's an honor to represent Goldwater. We are very proud of our facilities that we've received over the last 2 years with our artificial football field turf, which is we've used it in the summertime and for 7-on-7 tournaments. We've had a lot of teams come in and they say it's probably one of the best fields in the district, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So we thank you for that. Um, this summer we renovated our weight room, and we've got new equipment. Oh, it was over the last 2 years. Artificial grass in the weight room to do indoor functional training. If you haven't been there to see it, you need to stop by. It's really good. Um, it's probably one of the top facilities now, probably in the state, with our weight room, functional training room, film room, the whole bit. When we first unveiled it to the kids, and even still today, the excitement on their face was incredible. Um, still, they love it. They take care of it. They have a lot of pride in it, and we are so glad. Me especially, I'm thankful for our administration for letting me have a hand in designing it and having a say in it. I've worked in another district before, and no one would have ever had that opportunity. So I appreciate that, and Goldwater appreciates that. So thank you.
Yeah, it's very exciting times for us. We really have enjoyed the athletic turf. One of the big benefits for us is, as the storms have come through, and what happens is that for a lot of schools, especially where the rain is heavy, they have to postpone games because the field becomes unplayable and it's too muddy to play. And we haven't had any of that. We've had lightning delays, but we have not had bad field delays, and so that really is something that our kids are enjoying very much with our synthetic turf. If we move to the next slide. So I know that you have celebrated all of these folks at different times during the course of last year and a little bit this year. But we thought it was pretty impressive to put them all on one page. And so you'll see that what happened last year for us in athletics, we won the AIA prestigious Directors Cup, the 6A boys volleyball state championship, the Division I beach volleyball state championship, uh, the AIA 6A sportsmanship award. We had our first ever and the first ever in the state 3-time girls wrestling champion. We had 3 other individual state champions. We had 6A girls volleyball as a state runner-up. We had 6A boys basketball in the Final Four. We had 4A boys soccer in the Final Four, and all of our 6A football teams made the state playoffs last year. We were the only district to put all of our 6A teams into the playoffs last year. So we think it's a pretty good run. This fall season is off to a great start as well. We have several teams that will be contending in the playoffs. We have 3 football teams at 3-1, and another at 2-2. So we're very excited to what the season holds for us in football, and then in our girls volleyball as well. So with that, if there's any questions for any of us, we'd be happy to discuss them with you.
Questions, Mrs. Reed?
Coach, how is your feeder team coming along?
Well, we started that 2 years ago with a flag football team, and last year we had our first tackle football team. Uh, they didn't well. They won one game in the springtime, and now they won last week big so they got their first experience on the freshman level of winning. So hopefully it carries on from there. So
Good. Do we have any other updates about helping Goldwater establish, strong feeder team like some of
Sure.
our
Well,
high schools have?
we ran our first ever sports camp at Deer Valley Middle School this past year in the summertime, introducing kids to sports they weren't necessarily playing before then, the volleyball, wrestling, and then we also had basketball available. So we think we're going to build on that success. We had about 60 kids as that camp started, part of that camp. So we're kind of excited by that, and we're really trying to build that sort of community of camps as well at some of the feeder schools for Goldwater, so that we can introduce kids who aren't necessarily involved in the club uh, kind of sports to have the opportunity to compete and be part of teams that so they're familiar with that sport before they get to high school.
President O'Brien, Ms. Reed, I can address that. We have begun discussions with Mr. Evans and Dr. Stelk at Goldwater because when we had some original conversations on this, the board had expressed an interest in providing some additional supports for the feeder teams that are coming up to support a strong athletic program at Goldwater. And so we have had preliminary discussions with those two particular individuals at Goldwater, and we have plans to continue those conversations. They did voice a number of items that they wanted to explore with us in terms of how we could potentially support them with that. And so I look forward to continuing those conversations, and we'll keep you abreast in the board update on that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mrs. Ordway?
I just wanted to thank you guys for coming, and I know you've got to leave. So we'll thank you, and then I guess we can conclude the report. Anyone else has anything?
Mrs. Paperman?
Thank you for working very hard with our students. I know how important sports is, especially in high school. Many students work very hard to get those scholarships. One of my questions is, what support system is there to academically? They also are maintaining those grades.
The support is academically. A number of our schools already have study halls for athletes specifically, where Honor Society members tutor our athletes when they're available. Of course, we know we have grade checks as part of their ability to compete in contests. So whenever the way that our grade checks work is that the first time that they have an F, that's a pending week. So they have an opportunity to work on their grade before the second grade check comes up and may knock them out of competition. If it knocks them out of competition for a week, the coaches are still typically working with those students to get them the additional help. They end up on the radar, really, and they work with their kids to get them where they need to be.
Thank you for supporting our students. Thank you.
Nope. Yes, I would thank you all, and please go do what you need to do. And I appreciate, congratulations, Coach Lout, on your 3-1 record so far. Go Goldwater. And thank you, Mr. Warner. And go Deer Valley Skyhawks as well, and Boulder Creek. Ooh, I'm going to get myself Jaguars. I am so sorry. All right, I'll say a couple Hail Marys later. Thank you all for being with us tonight. So we're going to have our guests exit and a little bit of changing of name tags in time for our next report. So our next report is Aspire, the Deer Valley Online Academy, and for that we will go to Dr. Galligan.
President O'Brien, members of the board, Dr. Finch. This evening we have an informative and amazing showcase for our Aspire Online Academy. Juliet Amara, Director of Online and Instructional Programs, will share with her team some great updates and information about a unique learning opportunity that Aspire provides for children and families. Juliet?
Thank you, Dr. Galligan. President O'Brien, governing board members, and Dr. Finch, I am Juliet Amara, and I'm proud to serve as your Director for Online and Virtual Learning. and I'm also proud to be the director for Aspire K-12. And this evening, it is my pleasure to provide you an overview of our innovative online school, Aspire Deer Valley's Online Academy. With me this evening is Dr. Victor, the K-6 administrator, and Mrs. Chelsea Lanningham, our department chair for Aspire and course facilitator. To provide our audience with an introduction of what Aspire does for our greater community, we will be covering the following agenda items. Tonight, we hope we will demonstrate how Aspire not only helps our DVUSD community, but also how we are an integral part of the greater school district. We will highlight the services we provide to DVUSD students and to learners across the state of Arizona. Deer Valley has a long documented history of providing students with online learning opportunities. Our first online school was eSchool, which was established in 2006 and was one of the first AOIs in the state. eSchool eventually transitioned to Deer Valley Online Learning Program, DVOLP, in 2017, which provided online asynchronous instruction to both full-time and part-time 9th through 12th grade students across the district. In response to the pandemic in 2020, Deer Valley expanded the online course offerings to span K-12, morphing DVOLP into Deer Valley Online Academy. Aspire Deer Valley's Online Academy was officially named in 2021 and serves students in kindergarten through 12th grade as one of the largest AOIs in the state. As our school has evolved over the years, so has our staffing. DVOLP began with a part-time staffing in 2017 and transitioned to 6 dedicated full-time online teachers at the secondary level. Today, we have 26 full-time K-12 general education and specialist teachers, along with an interventionist specialist, counselor, and a part-time psychologist. We will continue to utilize some of our secondary part-time staffing, which helps us to support a diverse course offerings for our students across the district. Aspire has a layered approach to delivering online instruction. Our students in K-6 receive daily synchronous instruction for all content areas and utilize a bell schedule that models our brick and mortar campuses. As students progress through their grades, they receive less synchronous instruction. When they enter into middle school, they receive synchronous live daily instruction for all core content subjects and engage in their exploratory courses asynchronously. In high school, all courses are delivered asynchronously with embedded class meetings. Aspire offers daily in-person opportunities at the Innovation Center to ensure that we meet the needs of our students. In addition to our in-person opportunities, students may schedule Zoom meetings with their instructors during their virtual class hours. Our commitment to provide K through 6 students at Aspire have a full range of academic courses available. Each grade has a certified teacher who provides synchronous live instruction. This is both in academics and specials areas. Teachers provide remediation to students who need additional support. Our special education teacher meets with students in targeted small groups as well as pushing into general education courses online through breakout sessions. Our gifted students are provided enrichment opportunities from both our general education and gifted teachers. Aspire also offers a large expanse of secondary online offerings, providing students many opportunities to engage in courses that meet their interests and expands their 21st century skills. Our middle school exploratory courses build skills needed for students to be successful in online education. Our high school offerings help students advance their critical thinking, recover learning through credit recovery, and provide a robust elective fine arts offering. Because Aspire courses meet the graduation requirements, we are able to graduate students from our school with a DVUSD diploma. Aspire scholars receive tiered levels of instruction through an online hybrid model to support the needs of our students. and tiered supports can be achieved even online. Here you will see an example of our bell schedule for our second grade and how we have provided students with time to engage in Tier 2, Tier 3, enrichment, and small group instruction during the academic day. The areas highlighted in green represent a hybrid model of both in-person and online instruction. There are scheduled in-person days at the Innovation Center and available Zooms. For high school students, the Learning Lab is open 3 days a week from 2 to 6 p.m. for in-person instruction. Aspire recognizes the importance of meeting the needs of all of our scholars, and this includes providing enrichment and gifted education. Our master schedule has been created to allow students in grades K through 8 move up to the next level without missing any content in other subjects. K-8 gifted learners all participate in Spark. This is an enrichment program that addresses the unique needs of gifted students. Our first through sixth grade students who are gifted qualitatively are enriched through GLIDE. That is the Gifted Language Arts Integrated Dedicated Education. And finally, our gifted specialist is on site every Monday to provide enhancement for all students in grades K through 8. As we continue to grow our course offerings, Aspire has expanded the honors and AP classes for our students. As you can see on this slide, we have upcoming builds that we are working on to expand our program. This is our inaugural year in offering AP courses. Advanced placement and honors courses are a major draw for students who are looking for a more rigorous option as they are preparing for their post-secondary education. Online but not alone has been a tagline that resonates with our school model. We have worked diligently to provide a school community where our students feel safe and supported, not just academically, but meeting all of their needs. Here are some of the many events we have hosted and will continue to provide our Aspire family in the future. As you can see, we are truly living up to the model of online but not alone. So many of our families and students have thanked us for giving their students the opportunity to engage with peers, join club activities, and build a community. Aspire administration and teachers build connections with students. Dr. Victor and I record morning announcements. This allows students to learn about upcoming events as well as establish relationships with their administrators. Teachers in grades 7 through 12 work individually with struggling students. By doing this, students know that there is someone dedicated to helping them. K-6 students participate in virtual monthly assemblies. Students receive recognitions from their teachers for academic achievement, growth mindset, and for Aspire on Fire. Highlighted on this slide are all of the in-person instruction opportunities offered at the Innovation Center. Though there are dedicated times for each grade level in K-8, students have an opportunity to come in each day to participate in exploratory courses. Families have utilized this model to bring siblings each day to receive academic and enrichment supports. This has helped to build a stronger Aspire community at the Innovation Center. This Friday, parents and staff will come together and vote to establish Aspire's PTA. Our Parent Teacher Association will support students in grades K through 12. We have 4 amazing parents who are excited to run for the board. Their children span all grade levels from primary, intermediate, middle, and high school ages. Once established, this group of parents and staff will work together to continue to build community and create opportunities for our students. Our enrollment numbers reflect how Aspire impacts the district as an extension of the greater DVUSD community. Here, you get a brief overview of how we support not only our full-time Aspire students, but the number of part-time students that matriculate through our school. Students can take courses for original credit, credit recovery, and walk up to math for our gifted population. As you can see, we support many schools within our district to ensure that students are afforded the educational opportunities that meet their specific needs. In addition to the courses provided for students, we offer and extend that to those enrolled at Vista Peak, and we are an LTS option for students who need it. Aspire also hosts the Blended Middle School Summer School program. This is a hybrid summer model that provides in-person instruction 1 day a week for each content area and a robust Canvas course that accompanies the content area to ensure that students are recapturing lost learning. As you can see here, 178 middle school students successfully promoted to the next grade level into either 8th or 9th grade. And we had an 81% pass rate this summer with enrolled middle school students. And it was another robust year for our online high school summer school. We had about 833 students earn just over 1,000 credits with 73 unique courses offered. Our teachers worked diligently to ensure students had many opportunities to learn, successfully attain Get Ahead credits, and recover lost credits. Of course, last year was a year of many firsts, and we will continue in that tradition this year with our first graduating class of 2023. In 2022, we celebrated many major milestones, such as the opening of our building, the Innovation Center, and we had kinder celebrations and our inaugural 8th grade promotion. And people have been spreading positive news about our school. And here are a few examples of how we have been received not just by our school community, but our local community as well. Aspire has been fortunate enough to build a positive relationship with our parent community. Our teachers and staff strive to provide excellence in customer service to make online learning as seamless as possible. Here, you will find how a few of our parents have taken the time to share their experiences with our team. These positive interactions not only reflect our certified staff, but our classified staff as well. At Aspire, our team is dedicated to making the online experience a positive one for our students and families. And we've been fortunate enough to have been featured in our local community papers to share how DVUSD is shaping the online learning experience. There is a great interest in our area about educational options and opportunities, and our model has been touted by the local community papers. We continue to work on spreading the word of our school, as we know we are the better option when looking at an online model. As we continue to grow as a campus community, we do have some very succinct goals that will facilitate our growth. Aspire's gifted program and supports have been identified as a major need and interest from our parent community. One of our major goals is to offer a seamless K-12 gifted program for students who matriculate through our courses. We also look forward to expanding our course offerings by looking at ways we can incorporate more fine arts, advanced courses, and electives into our catalogs. And with that, we thank you for your time this evening and allowing us to showcase Aspire and all of the great things that are happening at our school.
Wonderful. Board members, questions? Mrs. Paperman.
Aspire sounds like a wonderful place to give students opportunity, not to be in person, but to go online. So my question is every student able to apply for that, or is it limited?
No, we are an open enrollment school,
Okay.
so we go through the same open enrollment processes that all of our schools undergo, and we not only just serve DVUSD students, but students in the greater Phoenix area and across the state.
And you stated that the diploma it will not say online diploma, it will be like a regular high school diploma.
Yes, ma'am. We
Okay.
will be a full DVUSD diploma.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you.
Other board, Mrs. Reed.
Just a comment, I've had 2 kids that have gone through classes at Aspire or DVOLP before it was named Aspire, and they both had wonderful things to say. It was a very smooth process getting them registered, and the teachers were amazing. So just, I can't say enough good things. So one of my kids just went through classes this past summer. So thank you for all of your hard work in making sure our students have options to either get ahead or credit recovery or to work around their different needs and their family lifestyle. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mrs. Ordway? Oh, Mrs. Fisher?
I have it in my board report, but I'll just do it now, this part. I just want to thank Aspire staff for letting me come and invade their space Friday before last. They gave me an awesome tour of the facility, showed me all the different areas, answered every question I had regarding, what supports we have in place for teachers, that they have what they need to be able to teach from the area they were. And I'm still going to try and procure one of those egg chairs for my home. And just showing the different ways that we can branch out and the different kids that we can help. Even kids that aren't necessarily ours, kids that are in travel, whether it's, a kid on the rodeo circuit or, in the movies, or just a kid who doesn't feel like they fit in somewhere else. And yet they have the place there as well. It's a very, very impressive school. The programs are very impressive, and I just wanted to thank you for the tour and the shirt and for staying that late. It was a very busy day, and I really appreciate all the time you took to answer my questions and for presenting to us here as well.
Mrs. Ordway?
I just think we've come a long way from e-schools. Evolution is great. And when we say that we meet our kids where they are, this is just another way. And when I say just, it's a huge, huge way. And I know that for kids that don't want to be around others, can't be around others, they're traveling on some kind of sports or whatever, this is so awesome. And the fact that you have in-person opportunities for the littles and the bigs is great, and the hours for the bigs till 6 o'clock is just awesome. So again, we thank you for making sure that this vision that started a while ago and morphed into this is really good for our kids.
I have a quick question, and I was trying to go back to the slide, but you were talking about how the littles, K-6, I think, or the elementary have most of their learning is synchronous. Does it have to be that way? So if I had a prodigy athlete or whatever, and they were a third grader, could they still be in Aspire, or is that not possible because it's only synchronous learning?
President O'Brien, Governing Board, Dr. Finch. Yes, any of our students can be online as long as they're being successful. So synchronous instruction we're finding is where students are able to engage, they're able to be part of the community. So it's something we encourage. However, a student can work asynchronously or independently in any of our primary as long as they are meeting the requirements and by submitting their coursework and attending. There are a few things like district assessments that we do need them in person for. But in general, they can be asynchronous if it is best for them.
Excellent. So we really are providing a slew of opportunities to our parents so that we can meet their kids and their families where they need to be. So that's wonderful. Well, thank you for being with us this evening and for your presentation. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening.
And thanks for switching up real on the dime.
Yes, thank you for alternating with the sports report. So we will move on to public comments. We have one public comment this evening.
Mr. Carver, the board invites public comment to the district's business in general and on any agenda item in specific. All speakers must observe the rules of decorum. Speakers must fill out a card listing name, address, and topic and hand it to the board secretary prior to the president calling the meeting to order. Speakers must make their comments in no more than 3 minutes. If necessary, to accommodate all speakers, the 30-minute overall timeframe, the governing board president may shorten each speaker's time. Tonight, we won't shorten it because we have one speaker. Constructive criticism is in order, rudeness, vulgarity, disruptive conduct, or remarks disrespecting personal dignity are not in order and will not be allowed. Under the Arizona Open Meeting Law, the governing board cannot discuss or act on any items that are not listed on the agenda. Board members may respond to criticism made by a speaker, ask a staff member to review a matter, or ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. Mr. Carver.
Please state your name for the record, and then your time will begin.
Paul Carver. Good evening, President O'Brien, members of the board, and Dr. Finch. I've been coming to these board meetings since early in the year, around February, and it's been few and far between where anybody's come up to the mic and just said, what a great job everybody does. And I was going through the agenda today, just getting ready for the meeting like everybody does, and I just felt really strongly impressed that I need to show up today and make sure that everybody knew that, though it's probably not often said or often shared, especially in the board meetings, there's a lot of respect for everything that you folks up front do here, and especially everybody behind the dais. And I just wanted to share that. So thank you for your time tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Carver. All right, we will move on to consent agenda.
I would ask that the governing board approve consent agenda items 5A through 5O.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, please say nay.
Oh, hold on one second.
We have four, the motion passes 4-1.
I just closed it. Just aye.
Yes, ma'am, 4-1.
All right, we're ready to move on.
Yes, ma'am.
I would ask that the governing board approve all employees out-of-state travel per governing board policy GCC.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. I'm sorry, I just didn't hear everybody. 5-0. Motion passed unanimously. Thank you.
All right, I would ask that the governing board approve or accept the administration's recommendation to pre-approve the addenda as presented.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, please say nay.
There's only one in there that's student activities funded, but it's still there, so I have to vote nay.
Motion passes 4-1.
Okay, I would ask that the governing board approve resolution supporting FY23 aggregate expenditure limit override.
I second.
So we have before us a resolution regarding the aggregate expenditure limit override. I'll read it for all, and then we can, if there's questions or discussion. The Arizona legislature passed and Governor Ducey signed the state's fiscal year 2023 budget, including appropriations for state aid to school districts. This budget causes Arizona's education spending for the fiscal year to exceed the aggregate expenditure limit for K-12 education contained in the Arizona Constitution, Article 9, Section 21. This resolution urges the legislature to act quickly to override the limit to avoid immediate harm to school districts because, whereas the Deer Valley Unified School District has timely and responsibly prepared its fiscal year 2023 budget in accordance with Arizona law, with the expectation that sufficient revenue will be available to fund its obligations. Whereas if the constitutional aggregate expenditure limit is not overridden, the Deer Valley Unified School District stands to be forced to cut $43.5 million from its budget on April 1st, 2023. Whereas the vote to exceed the constitutional aggregate expenditure limit is necessary to allow school districts to expend money that has already been appropriated by the legislature for the purpose of K-12 education. Whereas a cut of this magnitude will significantly harm student learning, teacher and staff retention, and community trust, causing large furloughs and other cuts prior to the end of the school year. Whereas the school district in our community is a source not only of learning, but also economic stability and development, and a cut of this magnitude will have an economic impact on all residents of our community. Whereas it is within the legislator's power under ARS 15-944 to mitigate this looming fiscal crisis immediately by voting by a 2/3 majority to allow the expenditure of all appropriated funds in fiscal year 2023. DVUSD recommends that the governor and legislature work on a permanent fix for the AEL so public school districts and governing boards can effectively budget each school year. Now, therefore, it is resolved that the school district governing board of the Deer Valley Unified School District, made up of locally elected and accountable school governing board members representing our community, does support the override of the constitutional aggregate expenditure limit for fiscal year 2023 and urge Governor Ducey to call the legislature into special session to approve an override before the end of the year. Are there any questions or comments or discussion? Mrs. Fisher?
This one really I'm torn because as a financial person, I understand that we need it. But the problem that I have is every single time we have a community member or a parent that comes and they want to question our curriculum adoption or different things that we do here, or when I bring it forward when they've brought it to me, every time someone will speak up and say, we have a process. We must honor our process. We must respect our process. There is a process. And so I'm kind of torn because the legislature also has a process. I do believe they will address it before the deadline. It may be a little bit of a struggle to know, but I do believe they'll get it done. And so I'm between, is this more of a political push? Because we're doing it prior to the election, going to see what's going on that direction, and we're bullying to push forward, or is it really an advocacy? And I struggled, so I did ask the question, and I will tell you, I did receive a lot of correspondence from community members that said, live within your budget. And I kind of tried to explain, well, this isn't just living within our budget. This is spending the money that's been budgeted for us. And I did try to explain that. But I do wonder, and I noticed even when ASBA sent this out, they sent it out with a little bit of, you don't have to do this if you don't want to, but. So I do question what message we're sending when we are applying additional pressure that we reject when it's applied to us. And so I do believe we should individually all advocate for them to resolve this and resolve it sooner rather than later. I do believe we should take appropriate steps, but I don't know that doing the ASBA specific resolution is the way to go. So that's just what I have gotten from the public. The two responses I got that were pro do this were from teachers, and that's because they felt that unlike other districts, we would not step up to the plate and take care of them unless this was done. And so that's just the responses I received.
So this, and I'm going to look to district administration to help correct me because I'm not sure I have exactly how many times, and probably Dr. Galligan, but we have been questions about our curriculum a couple times over the last, I'm going to say, roughly year. And we do have a process in place, but I am also fairly certain that on at least 2 occasions, we added additional time to the curriculum process that is not part of our normal process. So we extended it so that we could have additional input from governing board members and community members, especially our community members, especially parents, and have, in addition to that, I know several board members up here have repeated, asked that as part of that process, we increase our marketing of for people to do there. So we have extended our process and got outside the normal process when our community members have come, at least on 2 occasions that I can recall. And I see Dr. Galligan shaking her head, yes. This is, from my perspective, this is not political. This is advocating. We were allotted, the governor, the legislature approved a budget that gave us these funds, yet they didn't go through the process of fixing the aggregate expenditure limit problem. Therefore, we can't really spend them, or if we do, we end up in a big hole come April 1st, and I'm going to look to Mrs. Mock to make sure that I'm, again, on target. We have, if I recall correctly from the last meeting, $13 million that our negotiation solutions team is discussing how we might be able to spend those dollars. However, with a looming potential $43.5 million bill that we could potentially have to pay come April 1st, I don't believe it would be prudent for us to expend those funds of $13 million at this point, or until the AEL issue is fixed. So for me, this is asking our governor and our current legislators who approved a budget that allotted us these dollars, but didn't provide the additional approval necessary to spend all the dollars they allotted us. So they want our teachers to be paid more. They want us, but we can't spend it, in my opinion, in a responsible way, knowing we have this looming black cloud hanging out there. So for me, this is not political. This is asking them to do what they were elected to do, and I feel this is a responsibility of ours to, at least have this discussion. We all have a right to vote the way we want. Mrs. Ordway?
I'm going to echo much of what you said, but when the budget was formulated, then adopted, and then we were told that education was definitely number one because we are giving you more money, and then does not give the mechanism within which to spend that money, it's kind of like you didn't give me the money. So then what happens is we have the money, people see that we have the money. Why aren't you giving us the money? Well, we can't give you the money because if the money is not freed up the way it should be, we don't take raises back. We then furlough and all that ugly stuff, kind of like back in 2009. So I believe that this is a reminder. And if there are other school districts that have taken the ASBA boilerplate resolution, or if they have customized it the way we have to what can happen or what should happen, then all the more for the legislature to maybe look at this prior to any date in October, November, December, January, February, March, or April. They can pick a date. This should have been done prior to the beginning of the school year, prior to August. So I find this non-political. I find this pro-children. And since we are in this state where we're pro-children, then perhaps this resolution might resonate upstairs where they can call this to a meeting.
Mrs. Reed?
Correct me if I am wrong, but I thought that as part of passing the budget, that Governor Ducey said that he would call for a special session in order to get the budget passed. Correct? We all remember that? Okay. So I'm asking the governor to keep his word and call for the special session. $43.5 million, that's people. That's that's the district cutting jobs, and that's our class sizes growing exponentially. That's possibly, closing a school down and doing double sessions someplace else on low enrollment schools. That's a huge cut. And we have 2 governing board candidates that are in the room. I'm thankful that I'm not going to be on the board next year, because I wouldn't want to have to choose which teachers we're going to let go for $43.5 million if this doesn't get fixed. And I'm sure that the other 2 governing board candidates that are at home and that are watching on the live stream don't want to have to cut $43.5 million. This isn't us spending unwisely or going over our budget or blowing our budget. This is us going painstakingly through the process of creating a budget with the money that we were allocated and making the best decisions for our students and our community and our staff. I don't know. I mean, I remember being a parent in the district back during the Great Recession, and the cuts that our teachers took, and the things that were negotiated in order to keep jobs. And that was not $43.5 million then. So I think as elected officials, specifically in a school board, when it deals with our constituents who elected us to make wise financial choices, this is something that if we're going to continue to serve on the board, that we agree to sign and put forth as a governing body.
Mrs. Paperman?
Well, I have to say, as an educator myself for 20 years, this is not new with the state. For 20 years, the state has been not supporting public education, but we need to try our best to make sure that we're supporting our students and our staff. I understand that, yes, the $43.5 million, and we're for the governor to make that decision. But in the meantime, we still can have a negotiation team where there can be contingency. Well, if it passes, then how much raise are we going to give the classified? How much raises are we going to give the teachers? And another thing that I take into consideration as a governing board, I have parents, I have staff contacting because we cannot even get cleaners, support staff into the schools. Reading on the Friday updates, we cannot even get bus drivers to drive a bus. So as a school board, I also need to take into consideration that yes, we need to give raises to our staff in order to run the schools. We also need to look, what are we doing as a district? Maybe we need to start building schools. Maybe we need to cut on administration. So there are other options that we can do, but we need to make sure that we're standing up for our staff, that we're going to be running this district, and that listen to the voices to our community. They're saying we need to keep our schools safe. We need to keep our schools clean. So take into consideration, listen to the voices. And for the State Department, this is not new, 20 years of teaching experience. There's always problems with the budget, but we need to think out of the box and put our students first.
Mrs. Fisher?
I just have 2 more questions. Heather, is this the first time this has ever happened?
Mrs. Fisher, members of the board, in my tenure, it would be the second time this happened. The first time would have been last year. I'll look to Mr. Miglier and his much more senior tenure than mine if he's seen this happen in the past.
President O'Brien, Ms. Fisher, yes, we have been up against the aggregate expenditure limit prior to even last year. So we were up against the limit last year as well, and it was overridden.
So we have faced this cliff before, and it has been overridden. And then my second question that really just makes a difference. We did have a Republican legislator reach out to us regarding a public records request. just regarding, just wanting to partner, wanting to ask questions to ensure that our teachers could get raises. And when I asked, or when I forwarded on and asked, was this addressed? I said, well, she was sent through the public records process. Why, I would like to know, did we try to partner with that legislator to get the information to them that they needed? Or are they in some limbo waiting? Because public records requests sometimes take up to 8 months.
Dr. Finch?
Yeah, I can answer that. All the information that she wanted was online and available to all legislators.
Did we provide her where that, or did we just
Yep,
allow her?
ASA, the Superintendent's Association sent her all that stuff and sent her how to get it.
Because again, my concern is, like I said, I do believe this is an R versus a D issue in not the aggregate spending limit, but I think the push for resolutions prior to the election. I think that's the purpose of it. And that concerns me because the last thing we need is our schools to be more politicized than they already are. So it's just my concern. Nobody has to agree with me, but it is my concern.
No, we certainly, like I said, sometimes we have to agree to disagree. Mrs. Ordway has one more question.
Jim, if you can remember the latest that there was a session called to remedy the amount of the aggregate spending limit.
President O'Brien, Ms. Ordway, the latest was last session. So there was a special session at the conclusion of last year to be able to override the FY22 limit.
Thank you.
Sorry, clarification. So they did it after they closed the session? Because wouldn't the date have been March 30th, the same date that they had to make the AEL
No,
override?
President O'Brien, I believe it was a special session within the session.
Within the session, okay.
Correct. And they did it just before the deadline last year, so it was in late February.
Got it. Okay, thank you. I misheard you. So with that, I would call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Motion passes 3-2. Move on to our preview items. And for preview items 7A, we will go to Mr. Miglerino.
President O'Brien, members of the board, we do have several different policies to preview with you. I'm going to do the first two, which are related to transportation. Essentially, the long and short of both of these policies is that we will have new options available to us in order to transport students to and from school. Essentially, that happens in a school bus. What these new policies will allow is for us to consider other vehicles to transport kids to and from school. And we are closely watching. The Department of Public Safety is coming up with some rules, including a school bus advisory council that will be formed. And that council will also give us the ability to pre-approve contracts with carriers. So we do contract out a lot of services. Once that council has been established and then has a chance to review the various carriers, they can pre-approve that list for us, which will help expedite being able to contract out when we cannot provide the means to be able to transport the students ourselves. So policy EE also has a provision in it that allows us the opportunity, or at least mentions the ability for us to seek grant opportunities for buses. We already do that. For those that have been on the board for any length of time, we've had several grants from EPA and others to be able to help update our fleet. This just memorializes it in policy, just allows us to accept the ASBA edits for that particular policy. The second policy is EEAEA, which I just want to buy a consonant. I mean, there's just too many vowels in that policy. But this gives us the ability to use different vehicles, but does require us that anybody that's driving this alternative vehicle that's now given us the option to take students to and from school in, that they have an endorsement from the Department of Public Safety. So there is an additional certificate. We do think that we will take advantage of these opportunities as they become available to us, especially because of the challenges that we have covering routes throughout the district. I'll pause there to see if there's any questions about these two policies. We do have others that need to be heard, but I'm going to turn it over to some of my colleagues.
Any questions on the first two policies, board members? Seeing none, let's move on to Mrs. Moffett for policy GBGCB, and now I'd like to buy a vowel.
All right. Good evening, President O'Brien, governing board members. Policy GBGCB is specific to health and safety. ASBA's recommendation now includes language that dictates to us that we should not have any employee vaccinated, which we have never required. And then secondly, that we would not require staff members to wear a mask related to COVID-19. It still does explain that there could be situations where they would need, or the district could require them to wear a mask, and it outlines what those expectations would be in a policy or in regulations. More around safety of perhaps chemicals, or in situations where there could be toileting or other things like that, where it might be the best case scenario or the best practice to wear a mask in that situation, but not related to COVID-19.
Thank you, Ms. Moffett. Any questions? Seeing none, we will go on to Dr. Galligan for IHA.
Policy IHA just formalizes 9/11, September 11th, Education Day. It gives us direction on providing age-appropriate instruction about terrorist attacks from September 11th, 2001. This is something that we have done across our schools. It just formalizes it across all schools.
Okay. Next.
Policy IJL is library materials selection and adoption. There are two slides here. Basically what this one does is it says that we will adopt procedures that allow parents access to the school's library collection and list of books and materials that their child might borrow. It also gives us direction for the work that our librarians do, just to make sure that if the book is challenged, that we have processes in place, and we do already. So we would simply follow the current processes that we have in place, but it formalizes that parents may ask for a list of the collections that we have in our libraries. The next one is IJNC. And again, this one gives us information about giving parents access to our school library collections with the list of books and materials that their child borrows. The unique thing to this one is that it would start in January 1st, and there are some waivers provided in this one. Now, this would affect only 5 of our campuses, those campuses that have an actual library media specialist. That would be 4 of our high schools, excluding Boulder Creek High School and Norterra Canyon, which has the IB middle year program. And we are already working on processes for this one. IKF is just a quick change to the graduation requirements. For the graduating cohort of 2026, the civics test passing would be 70 out of 100 instead of 60 out of 100. And we are already in process with that one as well. The last one that I bring to you is policy IMB, and it is teaching controversial sensitive issues. There are really only two changes. It's two words. And it really is that our teachers have great responsibility. The word responsibility is changed to educate, and the word educate is changed from what was previously in this policy. Those are the only two changes in policy IMB.
Thank you, Dr. Galligan. And our last policy, JLDAB, is Dr. McCusker.
Hello and good evening, Governing Board members, President O'Brien, Dr. Finch, and the community. So this is a new policy and a recommendation. This policy has to do with Jake's Law, which was formulated in 2020. If you are not familiar with Jake's Law, it is a law that was put in place for our students or children in our communities that are underinsured or uninsured. And what it does is it allows school districts to partner with outside agencies, such as Southwest Behavioral Health and Services, to provide behavioral health and mental health services to our students and community. This would be a new policy, and if you do have a partnership in a school district for school-based referrals, you must have a policy to accompany it.
Any questions? Mrs. Reed.
Dr. Galligan, for IKF for the civics test. So that goes into for our 2026 grads, which are eighth graders from last year who had to take the civics test. So I know that you said there's a process in place. When do you think that the kids who passed with this in between a 60 and a 69 will be notified if they need to retake the test?
President O'Brien, Ms. Reed, it will showcase as a pass-fail on their transcript. So our 7th and 8th grade students have been taking the civics test for the last 4 years, and we would continue the process that we have in place. So for our current 9th grade students, we have already marked if they have met that requirement of 70 out of 100.
So they know already.
Yes. If they want to check their transcript.
If they check so parents out there who are watching,
Exactly.
students, check your transcript. You'll know if you need to retake that test. All right. Wonderful. Thank you for those preview items. We'll go to governing board reports. Mrs. Paperman.
I would like to clarify with Dr. Finch. I know like on the Friday up, did not mention what governing board, but I assume it will be made with DVA supporting to give them more money for staff. I just want to clarify that governing boards are here. It's not just to support staff, it's also to support the students and community. We get connections with staff, we get connections with the community. So we advocate to support what we were voted to be as governing board. And also, as a governing board, I look at what's in the best interest of the students. I want to make sure that what parents are saying, what staff are saying, we need more support in our school. We need more cleaners to keep our school safe. We need bus drivers. Do we need to look at the budget to make that happen? Yes, we need to collaborate as a board or maybe have a study session and look at the classified, well, what are they making as of right now? I know there's a process with a negotiation, but is it working? To me, I don't see that it's working because we will not be in this problem. So it will make more sense if the governing board, they start having study session and looking at the classified salary so we can get people to work for Deer Valley School District. So it will make more sense if we can have something to be put on the agenda because this is something that many community members are constantly contacting over these issues. And on one of the board meetings, we had a lot of community members stating their concerns, and all we do is just sit back and we're just waiting for what? For the governor to make a decision. The state has been a problem for many years. Right now, we need to take care is our students, our student safety.
Thank you, Mrs. Paperman. Mrs. Fisher?
Okay. God, I hope I can read this. I left my glasses at home, and I can't blow it up that big. I really appreciated having a day off that you guys didn't. I mean, because mine don't normally coincide with yours. Because I took the opportunity to spend the entire day on school campuses. I thought it was only going to be a few hours. It doesn't tend to work out that way. So I started my morning really early, Union Park. Got to tour the campus, see the new construction in progress. Got to enjoy the kids, and I really do enjoy the kids. With all this rain, we have bugs everywhere. I don't know if anybody has noticed those horrible big black beetles. Apparently, they are a nuisance to us, but they are an awesome sight for children. Starting at that campus, but at every campus somewhere, there was a dead black beetle that the ants were carrying away. And that was it just, and of course, science teachers are all going, ooh, we could teach this. So, it was a very entertaining day regarding bugs. But I also spent a lot of time speaking with teachers and our administration. I am looking forward to the opportunity to again join at Union Park at one of their PLCs for a specific purpose, some stuff that I'm going to review to obtain better understanding of. I'm also looking forward to meeting their new bearded dragon when he, she, it is well situated, and I don't have to touch it. Nice to look at from afar. I'm not that kind of a person. I just don't like lizards. Then I went off to Inspiration Mountain. I do want to also thank them. I had a wonderful tour of the campus. It was nice seeing kind of the ins and outs, where things are planned for the future. My first question was, what were they thinking with that parking lot? And apparently they all said, yeah, we said the same thing. So I don't know, maybe that's a future fix. I also was allowed to join in, as far as the tours, I got to give them super kudos to, there's a wonderful campground inside one of the classes with a faux campfire and everything else. And I got to enjoy a nice morning of kindergarten. And that was really cool because apples float and some other things don't, but it was a blast watching the little ones and the two teachers co-teach together. It was very enlightening. They did also let me join in with their PD and review the new system and how they're going to utilize it and how it's a benefit from campus to campus when a student moves, being able to have that continuity across campuses and focusing really on the children and how that, the maker of it, what's the name of the new system that they just put in, where we're keeping track of everything for the kids? Huh? Yes. And the thing that's funny, and I'm sorry, I just needed that name, Panorama. It's because Panorama is associated with other things, the community automatically believes that it's the other things. It was really wonderful to be able to see it firsthand and see what it's doing, what it does, how it works. Not all of their products, but the product that we are utilizing. And I have had opportunities since that visit to explain to several individuals in the community and parents who thought it was the other, that it's not. And I think that really, for me, was that knowledge is power, and that we need to empower our parents. If we don't want them mad at us, we just need to start sharing with them what it is that we have. And so we did a lot of talk with that. I did enjoy making new connections with several teachers that I hadn't met before, which was nice, and have met with some of them since then as well. They also have a new Makers Center and the various opportunities the kids are taking in that new Maker Center has nothing to do with what we're currently teaching them. It's what they're going to learn. One little girl's going to learn Spanish, which I am now learning Spanish with her on the same free program. So between Union Park and Inspiration Mountain, they have me learning Spanish. I did finish my day out at Aspire, which I had already talked about earlier. We do continue to get concerns on various topics, the employee shortages, long-term subs, perhaps not necessarily operating as a regular teacher would, and that becomes problematic. Broken air conditioners. I did, like, it's kind of funny, like Miss Paperman, I read the Friday afternoon, I went, is he talking about me because I was at schools, or is he talking about her? Well, he said DVEA, so yeah, you're turning the hot seat. But I agree with her. There was a time when the board actually did their job and really dug in we partnered with administration and teachers and staff, because we were elected to do a job, and that job is not just a pictures person. It's a lot of other stuff, and so I do agree with Ms. Paperman that we should be doing more study sessions where we're hearing firsthand from our teachers, from our classified. I had requested a job study and was told, well, it's a good thing that you don't have a say in it, essentially, and that's it's in writing, and so that's a problematic thing. We need to start looking outside of our own personal conflicts or whatever is preventing us from moving forward in some of these areas and really start doing them. So I do concur with Ms. Paperman that I think we do need to have more study sessions, actually have policy adoptions where we talk about the policies, not just get a presentation and then because these are, if we want people to believe that the board work is important work, we need to act like the board work is important work. A little bit of good, a little bit of bad, but I do know that DVUSD has a lot of wonderful things to offer all the way across. We just need to not only highlight them, but resolve anything that's maybe not working. So that's it for me this week.
Mrs. Reed.
Last week, we got an invitation to attend Barry Goldwater's IB Leadership Day, the first annual Leadership Day, and that was a really neat opportunity to see different members of the community come together to help support that. There were different breakout sessions that the students could sign up for and learn all different aspects of leadership. So that was a neat event to be able to do. I know it was a lot of hard work and coordination by the IB leadership team at the school and also administration. But it was a great event. I'm thankful that I got to go for a little bit. I definitely enjoyed fall break day yesterday. That was a nice little break. I know my kids also, so I hope that teachers and staff and students are ready for the next couple of weeks before we have parent-teacher conferences and first quarter grades out. I do want to touch on board policies because it's been brought up a few times that the board just rubber stamps the policies that ASBA gives us, and we don't discuss them and we don't have a say. And that isn't true. With our last board, there were several different policies that board members provided different language on and that we discussed when there was language that was presented to us to discuss. And then the procedure that we've unofficially adopted, I guess, is that if one of us has different language that we would like to see instead of what ASBA has proposed, that we send it either to Mrs. O'Brien or Dr. Finch so they can send it to our district attorney and get their feedback on it to make sure that the proposed language and the changes that we're making still allow it to follow the law. And I know that Mrs. Fisher has said that she has disagreed with some of the policies that have been in place, and she's been welcome to submit her proposed language. And as far as I know, no language has been submitted to the attorney for review. And that's just how it's been with the board that we had before and this board. There hasn't ever been a policy that this board has seen that we haven't ever been willing to discuss if there was language that was proposed and provided for discussion, but there hasn't been. So I just wanted to clear that up. There's nothing funny going on in the background. There just hasn't been any proposals. So with that, I'll pass the torch.
Ms. Ordway.
I'm going to make this short, believe this or not. I'm enjoying working with Deer Valley Middle School and Barry Goldwater High School as they try to make a partnership. So the transition from Deer Valley Middle School to Goldwater, the way I'm helping with that is they have student and staff wellness centers that they're creating now. And so Deer Valley and Goldwater are going to try to mirror their wellness centers. So when the transition from middle school to high school happens, it's very clear and easy. So that's fun. I also got to do put out some dresses for the homecomings that are approaching. And for the first time ever, which was so exciting for me, the kids asked before I actually got to do it. So they wanted to know if there were going to be dresses for homecoming. So all that was put out. There's been football games. There have been art that I've been able to see. So we've got academics. We saw those kids tonight, but the other kids that we didn't see are still working hard within their classrooms, whether the classroom be brick and mortar at their home or wherever they are. So I think that our governing board or any governing board should be proud of the work that they do when they do have an implementation of opportunities that are accessible, not just there, but are accessible to all students. And the more we can make that accessibility easy, the more students we are going to make happy and keep engaged. I do not feel that reminding elected officials ever is political. I think that's called your civic duty. And as elected officials, it certainly is more than your civic duty. They feel free to remind us when we are not doing things in the way that they feel. And awesome, because we're going to remind them that funding helps employees also plan on what they're going to be able to do and budget their money. And even though we will have trigger language doesn't guarantee this in case I'm buying a home or renting an apartment or whatever I'm doing with money that I'd like to know that I'm going to make or not make. And thank you for the staff that's sitting here right now. Marie, you're back there. Scott, you're back there. I know, Marie, we don't pay you, but you still help. And right around the corner before we know it is going to be food boxes for our upcoming holidays. So please keep yourselves posted in case we need to ask you for some more help. On that, have a great week.
Thank you, board members, for your board reports. I would actually like to see if we could get an update. I know it's preliminary, Mr. Miglerino. I think you've only had one meeting with NST. Oh, Mrs. Mock, sorry. Am I looking at the wrong person? Both people? You want me to ask Jenna for it? No, I got it. If we can maybe get an update. And in addition to an update on that NST, I think it might be prudent to put in the board update maybe some of the budget information regarding, how much goes to salaries and benefits for employees broken down by administration, certified, classified. I would strongly encourage any board member that'd like to sit down and talk more at length about that budget process to, go through the superintendent's office and talk to Mrs. Mock, Mr. Miglerino about that process. The market, the employee market is hard right now. City of Phoenix has a ton of employee vacancies. I believe the last number I heard was 2,600 vacancies out of 14,000 employees. And so that's a lot of people. And I know that the school districts are struggling in all the areas. There are just some folks, we don't have enough folks to fill all the jobs. I don't know what the answer is. I wish I had a magic to fill all those positions for all of us, because it would certainly make life easier for our employees as well as better for our students and community members. And I'm thankful to the employees we have in this district who are doing the jobs they were hired to do and doing the extra jobs that aren't necessarily theirs, and the volunteers who are stepping up and doing that. This is a very unusual time to have all these vacancies and folks who not to fill them. I think we all want to roll up our sleeves and figure out how to fill those positions, and we're open to ideas and suggestions. But having a study session isn't necessarily the answer. So if we could get more information in the Friday update, that would be wonderful. Thank you very much. Excited that football is happening. I got to attend a game. I know it didn't end necessarily how the team wanted it to, but the fields look great. The students were awesome. The kids were playing hard, and I look forward to getting out there some more. And I'd like to also highlight that Dr. Miller and Sandra Day O'Connor High School celebrated American Civics Day today by honoring, I think it's their 20th anniversary. And by a fluke meeting, we got to have one of her sons, Sandra Day O'Connor's sons, Brian O'Connor and his wife, Sean, join us for Civics Day this morning at O'Connor High School, and it was really quite an honor to have them there. We were fortunate enough, or I was fortunate enough to get to meet Justice O'Connor a couple of times at O'Connor High School for the academy when it first started. And she's an amazing lady, and she worked hard to get where she was, and she loved working with the kids. I remember her telling one of the parents when she was there to talk to the kids that they needed to be quiet because she was there to talk to the kids. She had some great advice for them. So it was fun to be out there. And with that, we will turn to Dr. Finch's report.
All right, thanks. To answer a couple questions. The Friday update was not referring to our two suggested. It was referring to Ms. Ordway. Now you know. The reason why I don't normally mention names in a board report is because I'm usually talking about the board as a unit. Remember, I've been doing this a long time. And as a board member, you're really not a board member until you're sitting here making decisions behind a dais and a microphone and voting. So when I talk about board in general, usually, I've, again, been doing this Friday update concept for a long time. It's an opportunity to remind board members of their role. It's very important that we work as a unit, just like the legislature. Legislature has their role, Supreme Court has their role, governor has their role, everyone has their role. And when the parties start crisscrossing their roles, that's when they get in trouble. And that's the same with Deer Valley. It's the same with all my other 24 years of doing this. We all have our best spot where we fit the best, and we work together to do our part. So Anytime I mention in a Friday update, it's usually talking about philosophy and around a role. And again, related to budgets, I think everyone did a nice job talking about the impact of the AEL. And I want to echo too that the AEL is an obstacle, and we do have $13 million in our back pocket waiting for it to be spent. And Ms. O'Brien, I believe, said it would be fiscally irresponsible for us to spend that, knowing we have a $43.5 million hole to fill. I believe the legislature needs to complete their process, and the current legislature, not the next legislature. It has nothing to do with them. This is the money that they allocated. They need to complete the closure to their. This is the money they offered. This is the money they gave us. So we need to be able to spend it, and they're not giving us permission to do that. I think Ms. Reed mentioned that the governor made a promise to do that, and that is correct. That was part of the budget deal. And so that the judge ruled, and within 23 days, I believe, he said he would call a special session, and he did not. And so I want to thank the board members for being having good discussion about it, but I think we have to put pressure on the legislature and the governor. It's no different than with your kids. You can't give them money and then tell them they can't spend it. And by the way, I want to see results. It doesn't work that way. So I think we did the right thing by putting pressure on the governor and the legislature, and we'll see what they do. Just a reminder, we have a board candidate forum coming up April 4th, and it'll be in this room. October 4th, April. Can't read my writing. October 4th. We'll have on April 4th too. Ms. Fisher said she can't read it, neither can I. My eyes are, I need arm extensions as well. I can't read. October 4th, what time is that at? 5:36? Yeah, meet and greet is at 5:30, and then that'll start at 6 o'clock. We'll start. So looking forward to that. That'll be run by outside group, our PTAs, and a third-party monitor like it's been done before. So once again, great couple weeks here in sports and arts. Our bands are now putting their shows together, getting ready for competitions, and piece by piece, they're getting them done. They're turning out very nice. So if you get an opportunity, stop by some of the games and check them out. That's it. Thanks.
Welcome. I have one quick announcement before you do that. I'd like everybody to mark their calendars for October 8th, 5:30 p.m. There will be a celebration at ASU West to celebrate the Taiwanese Independence Day. I will get formal information to Monica so it can get sent out, but it will be 5:30 in the evening. It is a celebration for all the Taiwanese families that have come for TSMC, but we want to welcome them to Arizona and to Phoenix specifically, share their culture and our culture as well. So I hope that the community from Deer Valley Unified School District will join us that evening, and we'll get more details out. But please mark your calendar. And with that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment at, sorry, I can't see, 8:33 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? You get to stay. Meeting's adjourned.